Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I am most likely addicted to true crime. Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I am most likely addicted to true crime. Hello, my name is Jennifer. So, happy Valentine's Day. I made cupcakes. I threw a dozen in the chat. Uh-oh. Perfect. Oh, that's because my cell phone was on. Okay, well, at least I didn't mess up the cupcakes. I just messed up the intro. Let me refresh. Okay, well, let's get back to where we're supposed to be. There's no longer an echo. Like I said, at least no, there is still an echo. I don't know what to do, you guys. This is a shit show. This has never happened before. Okay, it's fixed. Wow. So happy Valentine's Day, even if it's going wrong. You didn't hear an echo, Jill? Oh, I was in a terrible chamber. And now the neighbors' dogs are barking, so my dog's gonna go nuts. You ever thrown a party and it just doesn't go the way it's supposed to? I hope that my dog is not now making your dog go crazy, Jill. Luna says happy Valentine's Day. Oh, Kilo, bear with me, buddy. Okay, well, since Kilo entered the chat, Kilo says happy Valentine's Day, but he's one of those people that pronounces it with an M. I tried to get him to do it correctly, and his thumbs were tired, so that's all right. And Dee Dee says happy Valentine's Day. Okay, he will chill out here in just a second. All right, let's get to it. So I want to take this away. I'm going to remove the comment. Okay, so why did I start this little live stream? So this idea came because I've been working with Lee Walters at Excalibur Private Investigation, doing some research for him on an infidelity investigation. He's also a sponsor of the channel. It's Valentine's Day. Infidelity can sometimes be fatal. Tons of people get busted cheating on Valentine's Day. February 14th is practically open season for cheater hunters. You know, I did say cheater, hard R cheater hunters, not, cheetah like the animal hunters. Anyway, I would never hunt a cheetah. I love animals. I do want to put across the bottom of the screen a little plug for the channel sponsor, Excalibur. And we'll just leave that up for him throughout the video. And then I have a little disclaimer. So this video is not for everyone. There are 3 separate rabbit holes at the center of my little cupcake video recipe. We've got Chris Watts, James Craig, and Brendan Banfield. And those cases are definitely rabbit holes. the one thing that they all three have in common is cupcakes. And when I say cupcake, what I mean is, let me see, I think I have the definition pinned here. Oh, nope, I do not. Oh, here it is. Okay. So a cupcake, right? A cupcake is the sweet little thing that a man sometimes enjoys on the side when there's a perfectly good slice of sugar-free sheet cake waiting for him at home on cheat days. And, we know what a cupcake is. It's the mistress, it's the other woman. And I would never misgender a cupcake. So, cupcakes can be men too. There's a cupcake in the Barry Morphew case. A couple of them, as a matter of fact. One's male, one's female. Anyway, that's what a cupcake is. That's what we're talking about tonight. I hope that you are having a good Valentine's Day. Not for nothing. We were talking about, cheetahs earlier, sort of. But anyway, did you know that owls are apex predators and they never build their own nest? They see another bird's nest, they need it, they want it, they take it. End of story. Like, sorry about your little bird family. I've got stuff to do. Thanks for the nest, Too bad. Anyway, we're not talking about owls. We're not talking about cheetahs. These women that we are going to be talking about tonight, they are not cougars. They're cupcakes, and there is a difference. So these are the two main cupcakes, and in the middle, we're going to talk about a Colorado dentist with a major sweet tooth. But I've set it up kind of like a presentation. I'm just gonna kind of get started with it. I don't know where to start. Infidelity can be fatal. So I am going to start with, here's the recipe for my cupcake video. So I'm going to start with these two, and I'm going to end with these two, and in the middle, we're going to talk about this guy.
Jim and Waffles was his handle on a website called seeking.com. He said he was worth $10 million.
James Craig, the dentist with the sweet tooth. Anyway, I guess we might as well just go ahead and get into it. I want to start with Nichol Kessinger. Well, the cupcake formerly known as Nichol Kessinger. She has a new name and basically a new identity. Some people have speculated that that's a government-sponsored new identity, but I don't think that has been verified or proven. I just remember when we weren't even supposed to say her name on YouTube, and she just became NK. Maybe you don't remember. Maybe you don't even know who this woman is. But I don't know. So here's the super condensed version, just for our purposes tonight. Chris and his wife, Chris Watts on the left. So Chris and his wife have 2 daughters and a son on the way. Chris falls madly in love with this little cupcake from work and kills his entire family. He disposes of his children inside 2 separate oil tanks, and he buries his pregnant wife in a sandy, shallow grave nearby, where she gives birth to their son after her own death. And now I know what a coffin birth is, and I can't unlearn it. So thank you, Chris Watts. You are an asshole. Anyway, I've juxtaposed a few clips in order to show like the extramarital relationship between Chris Watts and Nikki Kessinger. But in their words, according to them, talking to detectives around the time of the murders. It's only about 4 minutes long, and I apologize in advance, but I did begin this clip with those creepy-ass voicemails that Nikki left for Chris while they were dating. And the audio quality from the park interview sucks, but I think it's important, so here it goes.
It's me. I guess just call me back when you have a chance. Bye. Hi. It's me. I miss your face.
Consider him to be an introvert. I think around me he opened up a little bit more. I think he just felt like he didn't it's just kind of like a free relationship. I probably because there's no like strings attached. I don't know, like I'm not gonna judge him more. I don't know if it was because I was like his little secret and felt like he could trust me with stuff, but I think he was like pretty open with me usually, but I would consider it.
So it was probably around June 1st or something. That's when I first met her. And it was just like a work conversation. She messed with the gas meters that, we were out in the field. And I was messing up. And then I took it to her like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, how do I fix it? And, after that, we just ran into each other a few times in the office. And I think it was probably the fourth time meeting. She had asked me, because like when we were talking back and forth, I would say, like we moved here from Colorado or from North Carolina and stuff like that. And like, what's all this weed stuff? I'm like, I took out my phone and showed her a picture. Like, my girl's on the phone. It's like, oh, okay. Like, so like, yeah, but, I didn't wear a ring to work because like I sent the office to get refitted when I lost all that weight.
When Juliana was gone, would you stay with Nikki and then go home?
Yeah, I just wake up at like 4:30 and go home and get ready for work and leave. And just work out when I got back home.
What were the conversations with Nikki as far as at some point you guys were talking about for helping you find an apartment? So what did you guys talk about as far as your future together?
That didn't really happen until like I got back from the beach. So I told her like, I lied to her like, hey, like I had talked to Shan about getting a separation.
And that talk hadn't happened yet?
No, I mean, it kind of like, she knew something was going on. I mean, we weren't sleeping in the same room. And she even mentioned the fact like, hey, Colorado's a 50-50 state or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I guess she looked it up. But, that actually talk, I thought it was going to happen.
You're telling her the progress toward the divorce is a little bit more than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then so what were you guys planning?
So it was more of like, she's going to help me find an apartment that was affordable. That's kind of just around like Brighton or maybe just close to work. Like first time we went out, it was to a movie over at the Orchard, and I asked her like, "Hey, you want to go see this movie?" And like, yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. And we got there. It was sold out. And, normally I'd probably just have just wait 2 hours, like just go home. But now she just wanted to walk around and just talk. I'm like, okay, that was different. And I think she wanted to go to the car museum, Shelby Museum in Boulder. I've never been there. That was awesome, just to walk around cars for like an hour or so. And then drag race in Vandermeer, camping in Sand Dunes National Park. And I'd never been camping. I always wanted to do it. Thought it was, she'd done it like.
Because to me, it seemed real. It still does. This whole situation doesn't seem real, but at the time, it was just like, I'm separating from her. This is what's going on. And he seemed like he was pretty proactive about, like trying to get it the spot and like trying to get everything set up. And I think it's all about that, Like I remember we were talking about it. I was like, because I was like, are you going to get a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom? And he's like, I want a 2. I'm like, why don't you get a 3? And then each one of your girls can have a room. And he's like, I can't afford that. And I was like, all right. And then he was like, I'm going to do 2-bedroom. And then I remember telling him, like, oh, me and my sister had bunkers when we were little kids. It's kind of cool. They might like it. And he was just like, all right, And so I was like, kind of helping him with that. I was like, we'll go find something that'll be good and help you guys out. And then I was like, I don't know. I mean, I really tried to like handle that whole relationship in the most like decent manner that I could, I guess you could say. So.
Oh boy, she tried to handle that whole relationship in like the most decent manner she could. It always bothered me the way that she giggled about apartment shopping with him and how much the girls were going to like it. Having the apartment, having the bedrooms. but according to her, she tried to handle the whole relationship in the most decent manner she could. But there was nothing decent about their relationship. You know, they had great chemistry. I believe that they were in love, these two assholes. I do. They had the time of their lives. You know, you can even hear Chris's voice kind of change when he's talking about going drag racing and going to the Shelby Museum and, you know, even going camping, which wasn't really his thing. When they were together, it was fireworks every time, until it wasn't, like when Chris, you know, has to go outside to take a call from his wife while he's at Nikki's apartment. You know, things like that pissed her off. Things like that made her show up at Chris Watts's house unannounced and had, you know, with no regard whatsoever for whether or not he gets busted. And so I have this vision of their relationship where it's absolute fireworks. Nichol Kessinger, from the bottom of her heart, does not want to be a cupcake, but it's what she is. And I just, you know, it's obvious that there were these, you know, Chris talked about how he would have to talk his cupcake off the ledge because she was freaking out, you know, because she didn't want to be the other woman. You know, she wanted to come in and take over the nest. Well, she wanted to build her own nest with him, but whatever. Sorry, I went off on that tangent because she claimed to be handling things in a decent manner, and I think that's laughable. Not shaming her. Listen, to be honest, on a personal level, I have been both the cheated and the cheater. Okay, I'm 50 years old. I've lived a little. I've been on both sides of this thing. Nobody got killed, so that's good. Anyway, so Chris admits that he lied to her in the beginning, but Nikki, she definitely knew right away that he was married with children. You know, Chris talks about how he showed her in her phone one day because he kept saying we. So he showed her a picture of the kids to show, you know, that he has a family and how he didn't wear a wedding ring. You know, as if there was anything innocent about any of it. You know, grow up. You're banging somebody at work, own it. Anyway, but Nikki did not want to be the cupcake. And at the height, I'm sure, of their passionate moments, you know, she felt like number one. She wanted to be number one, but she knew she was, you know, number two. Not as in she was the shit. She was just shit. Anyway, I didn't know this woman personally. I don't mean to come off bitter like she was, you know, screwing my husband. It's just, you know, I've been down the Chris Watts rabbit hole one too many times. I don't know. All I know is she was angry, and this video tonight, it's not meant to be like a deep dive into the Chris Watts case by any stretch. I am not an expert in that case. I know just enough to get myself in trouble. I believe they were in love, and I believe that Shanann coming home, and then leaving again, but with the kids there, anyway, there are many videos you can watch if you want to do a deeper dive into the Chris Watts case. Tonight, I just want to talk about the Cupcakes, and she is, you know, Nichol Kessinger is an infamous true crime cupcake, and so I wanted to talk about her. And he set himself up with the whole thing. You know, Chris Watts was lying to himself. He was lying to his wife. He was lying to his cupcake. He was lying to his mother and sister. Hell, technically, I mean, he was lying to his daughters as well. It's a tragedy. Nobody had to die, Chris Watts. People fall into the trap all the time, and nobody has to die. Anyway, let me get those two off the screen. And let's go into, oh, I'm not even on the screen. Excuse me. Let's go into James Craig, right? Let's move on to James Craig. James Craig is the creepy ass dentist from Colorado. He was just south of Denver in Aurora. He had a dental practice there in Aurora. Anyway, he's the creepy ass dentist from Colorado who poisoned his wife, who was also the mother of his 6 children. Mormon, not Catholic. Anyway, he poisoned his wife and the mother of his children so that he could basically live a life free of marital responsibility, right? He was, I'm sure, going to take another wife and planning that out, but he was living a life before he killed his wife full of cupcakes and gambling, but mostly cupcakes. And he was looking for a stand-in sheet cake. Okay, he didn't want it to be Angela, his wife, the mother of his children. He wanted to kill her, find a new wife, and keep doing the cupcakes and gambling thing. And what I mean by that, I'll show you. Actually, I think the best thing to do would just be to show you a video. So James Craig technically had a mistress. I wouldn't go as far as to call her a cupcake. And so that's why she's not on the thumbnail and she's not referred to as a cupcake, because I see Karen Kane, which is James Craig's accidental mistress. I see her the way people see Amber Fry from, Scott and Lacey Peterson. Nicole Kessinger looked up Nicole Fry and how people feel about her, because Nicole Kessinger wanted to be Nicole Fry. Like, I didn't know the man I was with was married or that his wife was pregnant. But Nicole Kessinger was not that. You cannot tell me for a second that Nicole Kessinger, at the time of Shanann's murder and before, did not know that she was pregnant. She knew he was married. She knew about his daughters. They were making plans, and there's no way she didn't know about the pregnancy, in my opinion. Anyway, back to Karen Kane, who is definitely more like Amber Fry than Nicole Kessinger. And this clip is just about 1.5 minutes.
It was a murder case that captured the nation earlier this year. Dentist Dr. James Craig accused of fatally poisoning his wife Angela Craig, a mother of 6. According to the arrest affidavit, authorities suggest he had murdered her to be with another woman. That woman, Texas orthodontist Karen Kane, now speaking out in an ABC News exclusive.
Do you think that James Craig allegedly poisoned his wife to clear the deck so he could be with you?
There's no way I'm motive. There's been no planning a future together.
She says he told her he was also going through a divorce as she had been.
He told me they hadn't been living together. He had an apartment.
Kane visiting Craig in Denver. Angela was on life support after suffering a seizure.
He at no point seemed stressed or anxious or, really I had to drag it out. I'm like, are you sure you're okay? Because he seemed okay.
Kane says they met for dinner twice. Soon after, Angela was pronounced dead. Craig was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Investigators questioned Karen, who was in shock.
I can't even imagine the loss of a family member, and then to consider that it could be at the hands of someone that had been in the family for 25 years.
So Karen Kane was one of many. And during the trial, which the trial happened in Colorado, July of last year in Aurora. And they had a couple of cupcakes as witnesses. They had Karen Kane as a witness, but I believe that she knew nothing about who this man really was. She was falling for his crap. Karen Kane was also a dentist, and she was also Mormon, and family was important to her. Her business, her dental practice was important to her, and she thought that she had snagged herself at a dental conference in Vegas a man who was going through a divorce, you know, who the same things were also important to him, but that's just what he presented to her. The truth was, while he was in Vegas at that conference, when he met her, he was buying hookers and gambling money away. Meanwhile, he's filing bankruptcy back in Aurora. He can't actually afford cupcakes and gambling. Anyway, so during the trial, one of his cupcakes, and she was actually referred to as a sugar baby because they were on a website called seeking.com. And that was one of James Craig's favorite places. I'm not going to sugarcoat it to sugarcoat. Good Lord, it's getting deep. That's where he found hookers. You know, you can go on that website and you can find women who are willing to give you the attention and everything that you want. You just have to pay them in some way. And so this next clip is from Hidden True Crime, and Lauren Matthias was there in person at the James Craig trial, which I appreciate very much her coverage of that case because it was not televised and there were no cameras allowed in the courtroom. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, 2-minute clip. Here we go.
This is Carrie Haggiseth. Carrie Haggiseth was a witness. You testified in the James Craig trial. It was a powerful testimony. It was a lot. Carrie was what the court called a sugar baby. You met James Craig in the fall of 2022 on the website Seeking. The website is formerly known as seekingarrangement.com. They've rebranded. They're now called Seeking. You met him and there was, I guess you could say, a sort of arrangement. Is that right, Carrie?
Yes, that's correct.
Before we begin this interview, I want to talk about something near and dear to my heart. And Carrie, thank you for reaching out to me. You actually noted that I said this during my recap of your testimony, and it meant a lot to you too. And I want to state it here again. So often when we cover true crime, women in your situation, whether that means a sugar baby that I'll still be using air quotes for, that was the court's term, sugar baby, or just any woman that might be a sex worker. I'm not saying that's what you were at all, but let's just talk in general terms. Women that are in situations that they don't want to be in can often be targeted as victims of crime, or they can be targeted as someone that a criminal like James Craig can shame into silence.
Yes.
And there is nothing wrong with being in the situation that you were in, meeting James Craig on the website Seeking, formerly known as seekingarrangement.com. And I want everyone to not judge you, Carrie, for that situation that you were in. You're going to talk to us a little bit about why you're in that situation, because, again, your coming forward and your testimony helped this case. And I am so grateful that no one shamed you into silence and in hiding the truth. I just want to first thank you for your testimony, because justice was served to Angela today. So that's where I want to start. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, I agree on that. And, my mission statement over the last year has been silence is what allows abusers to continue to control and abuse. That's why I will not stay silent.
So basically, there are cupcakes and there are professional cupcakes. Professional cupcakes are less dangerous because a professional cupcake does not want to fill your wife's shoes. A professional cupcake wants your wife to mind her own business. She's just earning a living, by doing extramarital things with the husband, right? So this particular cupcake, the professional cupcake that was just on the screen, one of the reasons why her testimony was so important in that trial is because James Craig kept trying to get her basically to kill his wife. He kept dropping these hints about how desperate he is, and how much his wife needs to go away and how he wished that he could just find somebody that could help him. And then, he at one point asked her specifically, do you know anybody that can help me get rid of my wife? I mean, he wasn't talking about murder necessarily, but he was. He thinks he's slick. I don't even, like I said, it's a rabbit hole, and I don't even want to get into the stuff that he tried to set up from prison. It was ridiculous. I'll do a separate James Craig video in the future. I definitely want to talk about that one. But it won't be a live stream. It'll be a pre-recorded video. Anyway, so in the center, we've got the professional cupcake, which, like I said, is not good if you're the wife, but a little less dangerous for everyone involved because they are professionals. They don't want, they don't want the wife's place. They just want a Birkin bag or whatever. Anyway, one more time for the irony.
Jim and Waffles was his handle on a website called seeking.com. He said he was worth $10 million.
Oh, that case was crazy. Yeah, said he was worth $10 million. That's what he told his various sugar babies, and there were a bunch. He's taking them on trips. He's buying cars. He's writing checks. Meanwhile, he has 6 kids and a dental practice that's failing. Okay, so because I don't want to get stuck in the James Craig rabbit hole, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next cupcake, which is the most recent cupcake of true crime, and certainly infamous. She's definitely an infamous cupcake. In fact, she was sentenced yesterday in Virginia on a manslaughter charge, which when you really get into the details, it is unfortunate. So on your right on the screen, her name is Juliana Magalhaes. And let me see, I'm just going to check my notes. Anyway, so here's the little background I wrote about that. Brendan Banfield and his wife, Brendan Banfield was 37, I think, at the time. This was 2023. So Brendan Banfield and his wife hired a Ukrainian au pair. She came over to the United States on a work visa to Virginia in order to care for the couple's toddler, Valerie. Juliana was fond of Valerie, but she was a lot more fond of Valerie's father, her boss, Brendan Banfield, who was 15 years her senior. Long story short, the wife ends up dead, along with a patsy, and the au pair ends up in the master bedroom, literally. She was, in fact, telling that toddler that it was okay to call her mommy within hours of the wife's death. It's infuriating. And she wrote all of these letters from jail after she was arrested. Again, I don't want to go into a full deep dive, but I did bring a clip from yesterday's sentencing. First, I watched it on Grizzly True Crime, and then I went over to the Emily Show because I'm a member at both channels, and they were doing it at different times. But the clip I brought is from Emily Baker, and it's about 8 minutes long. It's the longest clip of the night. It's just part of the sentencing. I chopped it up and, of course, gave credit. And then we'll talk about it on the other side. But like I said, it's about 8 minutes long. And this was just yesterday.
Okay. She wrote a statement.
I have caused your pain. They cannot be measured and forever changed so many lives. I pray for forgiveness from the Benson family and from Joseph Ryan's family and from Valerie. I will never forgive myself for the pain caused. I hope that my cooperation in this case somehow begin to help repair the damage caused. There is nothing I could possibly do to make it up to you, to your loss. There are so many regrets, but this is my biggest. That's it. That's a tragedy I have been carrying with me, and I will always do. It's something I have nightmares with. A tragedy I know I can never take back, the devastation of what I have done. I know that my remorse cannot bring you peace. I hope you might someday understand that I truly do not believe that his plan would have actually happened. I have grown so much over the past 3 years. I look back at my younger self, at 22 years old, falling head over heels for someone 15 years older. They only seen his good side and clinging to someone that showed me love. I lost myself in a relationship, leaving my morals and values behind, and putting even my loved ones through this. My time in jail has been a time of reflection for me, to better myself in more ways than I realized I needed. I had to find myself again. That's when I truly found God, when I had lost the desire to live, when I wanted to die. The guilt and feelings that I didn't deserve to live and that I was
Judge A
a
is
monster
locked in.
were overwhelming. In God, I found the forgiveness and mercy.
You should look at Judge A, because Judge A is the one in charge of your sentencing today. You should look at Judge A.
And I am restored. Jail is not a place you can bear to let yourself drown in those feelings. I wanted to disconnect from my pain and the guilt and get into survival mode to stay mentally sane, because inevitably with memories come pain. Yet, I know I will live with this for the rest of my life. God and I only know the shame and guilt and sorrow I carry for all I have caused. Sorry for Joe's family and Christina's family. Sorry for Valerie and innocent little girl.
I believe she feels for Valerie. I do.
That will grow without her mother and our father. This I have burden to carry, knowing could have prevented it at all from happening. I understand that I am to blame, and I'm truly sorry for the pain it caused. I hope someday I can be forgiven, as I hope to be able to forgive myself. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Whatever you think of Juliana Magalhaes, your feelings are correct. You are valid. I hope truly that for Joe's family and for Christine's family, it helps. Whether you agree with her, disagree with her, thinks she only feels bad for herself, I hope that for the families, hearing her say that she has regrets, say that she is sorry, say that she is carrying this with her, it doesn't change their grief, but it acknowledges that she feels something. And a lot of defendants don't even say that. Most sit stone-faced and say either nothing or I maintain my innocence. I hope that it brings them something.
With the plan, agreed, and an older man may have groomed you to a point, but I want to list for the record the facts that I cannot equate with accepting a time-served recommendation. These are aggravating factors either not fully captured or not reflected in the sentencing guidelines. Number one, until today, you have shown no empathy for the victim in this case.
Boom.
Number two, you were more involved with the plan than you testified to. First off, there were numerous postings on social media platforms and text platforms looking for a target. texting and speaking.
She downplayed her involvement. You're right.
Directly with Joseph Ryan, encouraging him to bring the knife, and ultimately through the phone conversation, getting his consent, knowing all along you were bringing him to his death.
Yes.
Lying to Christine and setting up the plan for the zoo, using her devices and hiding her phone, using a child as a pawn in your plan, waiting outside for Joseph to show up, calling Mr. Banfield to bring him to the scene, and at any point for at least the month prior or that day, you could have stopped this. The plan did not work without your full involvement.
The phone was, oh, Judge A. Judge A clocked this shit immediately.
Number 3, having the loaded firearm in your pocket. Number 4, bringing a child into the basement knowing 2 people were about to be murdered, to include the child's mother. Number 5, hearing Christine ask you to call 911, which you did and then immediately hung up. Number 6, seeing Joseph Bryan, who was shot in the head at that time, still moving and walking up to him as he lay moaning on the floor and shooting him point blank in the heart.
Yep.
Number 7, watching as Mr. Banfield stabbed Christine over and over again. Number 8, waiting 15 minutes before recalling 911. Number 9, telling a fabricated story for over a year and a half, a story that depicted Joseph Ryan wrongly as a rapist and a murderer, an innocent man. And number 10, telling the child it was okay to call you mommy.
Oh, Judge A. Don't worry. We'll watch this a second time through without me pausing. But for those of you, if any of you are still listening in the background, if you are or on replay crew, come on back, because they pan over to Juliana, who's just nodding because she knows exactly what's going to happen. Because don't we know what's going to happen at this point?
Innocent man. And number 10, telling the child it was okay to call you mommy hours after the murder. Your actions were deliberate, self-serving, and demonstrated a profound disregard for human life. So let's get it straight. You do not deserve anything other than incarceration and a life of reflection on what you have done to the victim and this family. May it weigh heavily on your soul. So today I'm sentencing you on a manslaughter charge because that's what's before me. And the facts of this case demonstrate an intentional and calculated level of violence that is the most serious manslaughter scenario that this court has ever seen.
Yeah, because it's not
Therefore,
manslaughter.
I do sentence you to 10 years in the penitentiary, as required by Virginia Code 19.2, 295.2. After you've completed your 10-year sentence, I will order an additional 2 years suspended, and you will be placed on probation pursuant to Virginia Code 19.2, 303. Since okay.
May it weigh heavily on your soul.
I believe that completes the document.
Oh, I was all wrapped up in that yesterday. This case, and the reason why I've got, the two main cupcakes of tonight's video back on the screen is because, oh man. So it made me think, well, first of all, Juliana is, you're right, you guys, I'm sorry, she's Brazilian. I keep saying she's Ukrainian. If I continue to do it, just smack me. I won't even call it domestic violence. It's become a habit now. But she is in fact Brazilian. I apologize. Anyway, so the Brazilian on your right, the Brazilian on your right, she was not charged with the wife, Christine Banfield's murder. She took a plea deal. So 2 people were killed in that case. One was the wife and one was the patsy. The patsy's name was Joseph Ryan. And basically, Joseph Ryan was catfished into believing that he was going to go do some kinky stuff with a married woman, and he was supposed to bring a knife because she had a rape fantasy. And so he showed up and walked right into the trap of Brendan Banfield and his au pair, his cupcake, Juliana, the Brazilian. Anyway, he's killed. He's shot once in the chest, once in the head, not in that order. And then the wife is stabbed to death with the knife that this poor guy brought with him as a prop. I mean, people have mixed opinions, like, what the hell was he doing? Look, whatever he was doing as an adult that he thought was consensual, I mean, I certainly wouldn't suggest it, right? But and had someone not died, I'd probably be a lot more snarky. But this man was killed. And not only was he murdered in cold blood by strangers because he made a stupid decision, but then he was blamed for the murder of another person and called a rapist for 1.5 years after he was killed because this woman on the right wanted somebody's husband. And it had me absolutely fired up. But in that clip, remember when Emily was talking about, at least she did apologize. And if you go back and you listen, it's hard with her accent, but if you really take into account the words that she's saying, of course it doesn't take their grief away. Of course it doesn't make it better, but she didn't make it worse. So many defendants make it worse during sentencing. And, she was smart enough not to. I don't know how sincere it really is, because over on Grizzly True Crime, you can have access to all of the letters that she wrote to her lover, her lover of Cupcakes. See, she was arrested first, the au pair. And the husband was not arrested for a while. And so she wrote him all of these letters about, how much she loves him, and he's writing her back. And he tried to say during his trial. So he was charged with his wife's murder. But the au pair, in that case, is an unindicted co-conspirator. And the reason why I've got these two together in tonight's live stream is because so many people believe that Nichol Kessinger is an unindicted co-conspirator. They just absolutely believe that she was way more involved and there was no Amber Fry or Karen Kane about her character at all. She was more au pair than the other. I don't know. Anyway, it fired me up so much. And so yesterday, Juliana here, she was sentenced to 10 years. And the suggestion, and I heard somebody say, I heard somebody in chat, or I saw somebody in chat. Yeah, it was Jill. I love how the judge kept saying recommended after her lawyer kept saying agreed to. And what they were talking about is that I guess the defense and the prosecution came to an agreement that she might actually be able to walk away on just time served because she's been in jail for as long as she's been in jail. This happened in 2023. And while that was recommended, the prosecution and the defense, they can recommend whatever they want to the judge, but it's up to the judge. And Jill also said, I love that judge in the Depp Heard trial. So many of you recognize Judge A from the Depp v. Heard case. And it's the same judge, and she is planning to retire after Brendan Banfield is sentenced. And his sentencing is scheduled for the end of May. I think it's May 28th, but I'm not 100% positive. And Ruth Ann says, I knew she was going to give her the 10 years when she kept correcting her attorney. And I did too, and I loved it. Every time she corrected the attorney, she did it in such a way that just made me smile. I mean, I damn near giggled. Not like Nichol Kessinger giggling, but, I damn near giggled because the recommendation got thrown out the window. And Judge A gave her 10 years. And she's going to get credit for the time she has served. That will be taken off of the 10 years. But she doesn't get to leave with time served and get deported. So what she got was 10 years and then I think a couple of years of probation. But she's not going to have to serve the probation because as soon as they let her out of prison, she's going to get deported. She was here on a work visa, and then she went to prison for a violent crime. She's 100% getting deported. Jill says, I would just tell hubby I had jury duty and then put in earbuds and get lost in it all day. Good thing I'm retired. You're on jury duty. I love it. Let's see. Ruth Ann says, I didn't watch Depp Heard. It was on right before I discovered I could watch live trials on YouTube. I need to watch it sometime. Oh, it was interesting, that's for sure. And don't even get me started on social media circus geeks in the court of public opinion and everything that's going on right now with Nancy Guthrie. But Depp Heard was also a media circus. And so I did make a little Valentine here. Let me take that comment off the screen. So I did make a little Valentine because I don't know, because I sometimes behave like somebody with nothing better to do. Anyway, because we saw Judge A and because we were talking about cupcakes, Amber Heard is in fact a cupcake. Johnny Depp walked away from a lot of stuff to be with Amber Heard, who was in fact a cupcake. And, as it says on the Valentine, you both fucked up, but at least nobody died. I'm not pro-divorce. I'm but if you're in a position in life where your two options are murder and divorce, choose divorce, right? I just, I get it. Divorce is ugly. It's messy. Sometimes it's real messy, like in the case of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Excuse me. Sometimes it's messy as hell and expensive as hell. But if two people should not be in a relationship anymore, better the mess, better the expense, better all of that than what happened with Chris Watts and his wife Shanann, or with James Craig and his wife Angela, or with Christine Banfield and her husband Brendan. None of that has to happen. Anyway, so and I already showed you the Valentine from Kilo. I thought that was cute. You guys know he's my Valentine. Although I did receive stickers this week from Crime Talk, and the stickers say True Crime is my Valentine. So I have another clip for you guys. It's this is from a conversation that I had earlier this week with Lee Walters of Excalibur Private Investigation, which is the PI who does infidelity investigations that's been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I'm putting together a video behind the scenes right now about couples who spy on each other. And I kind of wanted to throw it out into the ether here tonight that I'm working on it. I'm going to focus in on that video, and it won't be a live stream, but I'm going to focus in on that video talking about Suzanne and Barry Morphew. Suzanne and Barry Morphew is a couple in Colorado. They were both spying on each other. And like I said, the wife, the victim in the case, Suzanne, had a cupcake named Jeff. So it kind of ties into the cupcake theme. But this will be entirely different. This will be about couples who spy on each other. And so I have a little clip, where I'm telling him about this live stream and talking about that next video. And so I just wanted to share that. It's like 3 minutes. We're going to be talking specifically about infidelity investigations. What about some of the other services you offer?
Oh, we do child custody cases. We do missing persons. We do suspicious deaths. We do backgrounds. We do a little bit of everything. Quite honestly, I've even got a canine dog that we've got a dog in Florida and one in Colorado that does private drug detection. So if someone has, a spouse, a partner, a kid that they think may have drugs in their room or whatever, we can bring a dog in on something like that even. So.
Oh man.
Doing a little bit of everything. That's kind of the way I like life. I don't like doing the same thing every day. So that's why and I've worked investigations for 35 plus years. So I've worked a lot of different kinds of investigations. So.
Yeah, I'm smiling. I'm kind of laughing at the idea. So I raised 3 boys who are now men and adults, and their teenage years were sometimes a little rocky, between the 3 of them. And I just had an image of myself in their teenage bedrooms, like, all right, I'm running a canine through. I mean, had I had access or even the thought in my mind to do something like that, I totally would have.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely would have. But listen, my oldest son joined the Army because I was too strict.
Oh, nice.
I'm not kidding. I wish I were kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I were kidding. I love him so much.
Yeah.
But couples who spy on each other without the aid of a private investigator.
Fine.
Okay.
So it's easy to think one party state, only one party has the consent. 2-party state, both parties to a conversation have to consent.
Okay. But in no situation is it okay for a husband or a wife or a partner, whatever. But in no situation is it okay to leave a device behind so that you can capture what happens when you're not around.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I would advise any client not to do that.
Right. And that's just, when we're talking about covert recording, there are many couples who have cameras in their own homes that record 24/7, the behavior that happens in their homes. But that's not a hidden camera. I'm talking about
Well, same with a ring camera, because those are in the news today because of the Guthrie case, the ring cameras are recording everything, but it's in plain view, it's not hidden. Anybody can see it, it usually announces when you walk up to it, that, especially if you push it, that there's a camera, and most people know what a ring camera does anyway these days.
So the reason why I was asking him about that is because I wondered, so in the Morphew case, Suzanne, the wife, was spying on her husband, and she used a spy pen device that could record audio. And she purposely set it up so that he could take it with him so she could hear what was going on when she wasn't around. And he did similar things to her. He had trail cameras. He would park down the street and sneak up to the house when she had a friend over, like spying on them. I don't know if he was trying to make sure it wasn't another man and it was really just her friend Sheila. I don't know, but there was a lot of spying that was going on. And so I wondered, in that case, the wife ended up dead and the husband ended up with all of the money because he liquidated all of the assets before he was charged with her murder for the first time, and was able to afford some excellent defense attorneys. But I digress, as usual. I wondered if the evidence in that spy pen was technically gathered illegally by one or both, even on accident, if there was no, I don't know. I wondered if it was admissible in court. So anyway, I'll get into that Morphew rabbit hole in a different video 1 week from tonight. So tonight is a cupcake party. 1 week from tonight is a pizza party. So yes, I'm a dork. So I've got September 2020 jail calls from Letitia Stout that I purchased from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And these are phone calls that she was making in the month of September 2020. So it's pre-trial jail calls. She was first tossed into jail in Colorado in March, and this is September. And what's going on in the real world outside, Letitia is still trying to control and run a public relations campaign from inside the jail. And so this is when Letitia is telling the world through Crime Online, because she's got the ear of a reporter. So she's telling Crime Online from jail, so Crime Online can tell the world that her husband, Gannon's father, is actually the one who is responsible for Gannon's murder. So I want to share some of those calls with commentary with you guys next Saturday night at 8 p.m. Mountain. I already have it set up, so you can go ahead and set notifications so you'll be notified. I think that we'll have a really good turnout for that one. And I will make pizza like I made cupcakes. And Martin is back in the house tonight. Barry had a mini cam which recorded audio and visual the size of a dice. And I actually purchased one of those, Martin. I still haven't emailed you. I absolutely need to email you. I've just been swamped. But I need to talk to you before I do the couples who spy on each other video. So I promise I will email you soon. And thank you for being here. And Ruth Ann says, my husband has gotten me nice expensive earbuds for Christmas the last 2 years, because that's what I do all day. Yep, I have been through at least 5 sets of earbuds myself. You are not alone in that. And I think that's pretty much all I had prepared for this evening. Just real quickly, I started earlier to talk about these two and comparing the two cases. Not comparing the two cases as far as like details and a deep dive on the case, but just what happened. We have what most people believe is an unindicted co-conspirator on the left. And then we have someone who was not charged with the wife's murder, but was charged with the Patsy's manslaughter. And listen, the Patsy, Joseph Ryan, he was not manslaughtered. I mean, that's why the judge said it the way that she did. It was not manslaughter. It was cold-blooded, premeditated, first-degree murder. But she got 10 years on a manslaughter charge because she cooperated with the prosecution, and she got a plea deal like no other. I mean, another Colorado case that comes to mind is Patrick Frazee. And Patrick Frazee had an ex-girlfriend in Idaho who was a cupcake. At times, she was the sheet cake, but they never got married. Anyway, she came all the way from Idaho to help cover up the murder of her ex-boyfriend's. Well, people called her fiance. They weren't engaged. Kelsey Barrett was the mother of Patrick Frazee's child, and Crystal Kenny, or Crystal Lee, was the cupcake who came from Idaho to help him dispose of his little problem so that they could be together. I mean, we could do so many videos with the same title, Real Cupcakes of True Crime, and just focus in on all the times that infidelity or extramarital relationships have led to homicide. It's crazy. It makes you think. I remember back in 2018 when the Watts case first happened. I was in Colorado. I was in Westminster, Colorado, which is like a stone's throw away from Nichol Kessinger's apartment at the time. And I remember, seeing it come across the news. I don't know. Anyway, I had a friend that I was talking to about the Watts case because it was national news overnight. It was so obvious that he was lying. And then when they found the bodies in the oil tanks, and I mean, it was a huge story. But anyway, I was talking to a friend, and she's married, and she's been married for several decades. And she can be pretty cunty to her husband. She admits it. She jokes about it. Sometimes she jokes about how cunty she is to her husband. And it's just, it's the relationship that they have. And, he's not cheating. And as far as she knows, he never has. I don't think that he would. He is an absolute sweetheart. But anyway, so was Chris. I don't know. The point is, the Watts case really freaked her out. And it freaked her out to such a point that she called me and told me that ever since that happened, she has been so much nicer to her husband. That is in no way to say that Shanann Watts was killed because she was too bitchy. That's not what I'm saying, right? But the reason we follow these cases, I think, you see all these times where these extramarital affairs turn into homicide cases, and you wonder, is there a stranger sleeping beside you or down the hall or on the couch or whatever? I don't know. Maybe he's in the basement FaceTiming his sexual soulmate or whatever. I think that we watch these cases and we put ourselves in the shoes of the various players of these tragedies, which is dangerous. Be careful doing that shit. True crime is not for everyone. Some people take it too far. I joke about being addicted to true crime. If I'm not addicted to true crime, at a minimum, I'm a true crime obsessive, which may or may not be punishable by therapy. I have certainly taken it too far at various times in the past. But like I said, we could do 100 videos about the real cupcakes of true crime. It happens all the time. But not as often as, people just having a happy Valentine's Day. I don't know. I realize I took that a little too dark, and I certainly wouldn't want to come off as bitter. I am not bitter. I am not alone on Valentine's Day. Kilo is my Valentine. You guys are here with me. I am retired. That's what I am. I am not available. I have too much to do to worry about things like romance. Certainly, I turned 50 this year. Who wants to chase romance at 50? I'm out. Let's have some other kinds of fun. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all that I have for you guys, but I did want to ask, and my final thought on the way out the door, comparing these two cases, how do you think people would have reacted had Nichol Kessinger taken the same deal that Juliana Magalhaes took yesterday? Would people be satisfied if Nichol Kessinger caught a manslaughter charge for her involvement? Would that change justice for Shanann and the kids? Would that cause people to put down the torches and pitchforks? I don't know. I want to know your honest thoughts. And if you're not here in the live stream and you're on replay, crew, please go ahead and toss your thoughts in the comment section. And I am out of here. Happy Valentine's Day, or, Valentine's Day if you're Kilo. I will see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Mountain for a post-trial study group session, and 8 p.m. Mountain for those jail calls. Have a good night.